Wow, what a huge audience. Good morning, everyone. So, DPM Gan needs no introduction, but I remember seeing you calm as can be during the turbulent days of COVID. And then a week after the turbulence of Liberation Day, we had a small fireside chat like today. And again, this calm, collected, thoughtful persona in DPM, really helping to navigate what is very volatile geopolitics. So DPM, in this world of changing world orders, Singapore, little red dot, how do you see us surviving in the sea of volatility and when global rules have changed?
Hi, Su Shan. It's always good to see you. And welcome all our audience. I'm very happy to be here to share some of our thoughts and our direction Singapore is going in view of this changing world. I think to say that it's a changed world is really an understatement.
Understatement.
Because I think it's a world that we can no longer recognize because many things have changed and it is still changing. Dust has not settled. I think we have seen a lot of several deals being made over the last few weeks between US and a few ASEAN countries, and they are discussing, continuing to discuss between the US and China. I think several deals are still being made over the next few months. I think we will have to continue to watch and monitor how the situation will develop and make our assessment and decide the direction we should be going. But I think there are several things that we are focusing on. I think many countries and many economies and many companies are taking a wait-and-see attitude. My suggestion is that we need to watch, but we cannot wait. We need to continue to plot our direction, chart our way forward. For Singapore, we are focusing on several things. First, we want to focus on strengthening integration with our like-minded economies, particularly ASEAN, for example. We just had the ASEAN summit
So more
last
integration
week.
with
That's
ASEAN
right.
countries.
And
Okay.
not just more, but deeper integration.
Deeper integration.
Last week, we announced the completion of our ATIGA negotiation, this ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement. I think this is a upgrade in the agreement. It also signals a very important signal that within ASEAN, we are determined to further our integration rather than to be swept away by this protectionist sentiments. So we are deepening our integration through ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement upgrade. We have also completed a negotiation with China on ASEAN-China a free trade area agreement upgrade. So I think we continue to upgrade within ASEAN and with our dialogue partners. At the same time, we are also looking at new partnerships. I think a few weeks ago, we announced the formation of a FIT partnership, Future of Investment and Trade Partnership, among small and medium countries that are trade dependent, that we want to come together to discuss how we can strengthen supply chain resilience, at the same time facilitate trade and investment among ourselves. And hopefully we can show the way forward, chart the path forward for other like-minded economies to join in to follow the same way. So I think we want to continue to be able to push ahead with a multilateral rules-based trading system, despite the challenges that we see in the world. And we are also working together with our partners to think about how we can transform WTO, because WTO is still an important foundation for this rules-based trading system. Well, we will need to transform because the current design architecture of WTO may no longer be workable, and it's important for us to come together to discuss what is the way forward, what are the areas that require transformation, and these are the issues that we are discussing among partners within ASEAN as well as with our partners. ASEAN is also working with different economic blocs, economic groups such as the GCC, CPTPP, as well as EU to see how we can build bridges among these groups of economies. Because ASEAN has a bilateral relationship with several countries, Japan, Korea, and so on, but we have not had a strong relationship with different groups. So we are now talking.
So you're talking like ASEAN with a GCC
That's
bloc.
right.
ASEAN as a bloc, GCC as a bloc.
That's right.
Maybe ASEAN, EU.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult for two blocs to to be fully integrated because they're very different.
Yeah.
Say, for example, EU will not be a part of ASEAN, and ASEAN will not be part of EU. But it doesn't stop EU and ASEAN to come together to discuss areas that we can work together. One example is in digital economy, and Singapore and EU has just signed a digital economy agreement, and therefore EU is not unfamiliar with the digital economy agreements. So ASEAN is also negotiating a digital economy framework agreement, and therefore within ASEAN we are not unfamiliar with digital agreement either. So I think if we are able to bring both EU and ASEAN together to discuss a digital economic agreement between EU and ASEAN, I think that would be a major breakthrough. But this will take some time, so we are going to discuss first on the principles of digital economic collaboration and see how we can set down basic rules, harmonization, and see what's the next step. And I think eventually we hope to be able to have a digital economy agreement between EU and ASEAN. GCC and CPTPP is the same. ASEAN also wants to find a way to further work with them to facilitate trade and investment. So I think there are a lot of opportunities still, despite the headwinds and the uncertainties we are seeing going ahead.
And Singapore's sharing ASEAN next year.
Year after next.
Year after next.
2027.
Oh, okay. So I guess the timing is right now for ASEAN to take things to a deeper level, as you said. DPM, I was in New York on Liberation Day, April 2nd. And I remember seeing the markets tumbling.
Must be exciting.
Well, it's crazy, right? Sea of red. Everybody saying, what the hell? What's going on? Nobody knew. And then I was watching Newswire. And then what happened was I saw this ad. This ad popped up and it said, in the midst of great volatility, there is stability, there's transparency, there's consistency, and there's this little red dot called Singapore. And that was an EDB ad. And I thought, oh, that's so great. That felt so good to see that ad as a Singaporean. So this little red dot, right, in this sea of changing global order, where everything is being weaponized, from trade to technology to chips to the US dollar and to payments, how do we stay relevant when everything around us is changing, from supply chains being pivoted, demand markets also being changed? How do we keep staying relevant if we are so small, but we are hopefully stable?
Thanks. I think you have asked a very important question. The answers are not easy. Singapore is very small, you're right, and very often we say that this has been our constraint. We are very small, so we have a very small economy, we have a very small market, we have very small workforce, we have very little land and resources, right? So it has always been our constraint. But sometimes being small actually can be a strength. One area that is our strength is we are able to move very quickly. We have been very nimble, and we are able to make decisions very fast and very focused on what we do. If you look back in history, I think we have adopted very deliberate industrial development strategies. In the beginning, when we started off as an independent country, we focused on creating jobs, focusing on investments that will create jobs. Doesn't matter what investment, what industry, we just want to make sure that our people have jobs, are able to bring bread to their table, feed their family. So I think that was the first wave that we focused on. Then subsequently in the 80s, we started to look at higher value manufacturing industries, bringing in higher value investments, raising the quality of our people, investing in the future. And subsequently today, if we look at around us today, we are focusing on services, on financial services, and financial services as well as service industry and trade as well. But we have never given up manufacturing. We continue to attract investment.
But it's moving up the curve, right?
Right? We continue to move up the value add, but we also consistently invest heavily on our people. Training and upgrading, that has been the story of Singapore. We have never let up on the training and upgrading of people, and we keep pushing Singaporeans to continue to upgrade. And we recently announced the Skills Future Level Up program to help Singaporeans to have another bite of the training program, so that they can have a chance to reset their skill set somewhere along the midway to their career. So this is something that I think is quite unique in Singapore, that we focus on developing and uplifting our people. We also consistently invest in our infrastructure. We want to be a hub for business, a hub for travel, a hub for logistics, for trade, as well as a
Finance.
hub for tourism,
Yeah.
and a hub for food as well. I think you can get a lot of
Food.
all kinds of food in Singapore. So we want to be a hub. So we invest in infrastructure, things like our airport. We are now building Terminal 5. We are also building our Tuas port so that we can become a logistic hub. So
Yeah.
I think this strategic position is very important for us.
And the rule of law, I guess, right?
And the
Yeah.
rule of law, but actually the rules of law leads me to the next point, which is very important, because Singapore has always been a trusted partner with our trading partners, our economic partners.
Yeah.
Even during COVID-19, if you remember, we kept our ports open, we delivered on our goods, we honored our commitments to the rest of the world. I think that is very important
Yeah.
in the world going forward, because this trust business is going to be is going to fetch a premium in today's world where there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of changes, a lot of volatility. What people are looking for is really stability and trust and reliability. I think Singapore has that advantage. Although we are small, but we are trusted and we are a reliable partner. So I think that will put us in a strong position as a hub.
As a hub.
Developing Singapore as a hub
So
city.
DPM, you trust, like Mr. Wee said, is the bedrock.
That's right.
But in a digital world, it's harder. I mean, I'm not on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok because every time I open TikTok, there's a deep fake of me selling Bitcoin. It's not me. So I'm sure there are deep fakes of you too, DPM. So how can a trusted hub morph into a trusted hub for digital flows, right? Because I mean, we don't have a lot of land for data centers, but we want to be an AI-enabled country. What I'm seeing from the government is a full-on embrace of what's ahead in the AI roadmap. As you said, relearning new skills and enabling us to be future forward. But how do we use this trust and harness this trust in a digital AI-enabled global economy where people can say, this is generated from Singapore, should be okay.
There may be deep fakes
With
of
the-
Singapore too,
Yeah.
time to come.
With the fact that, we don't have enough space for data centers, how do we toggle these two contrasting needs?
That's a very interesting question because AI is a very important emerging technology. I think it's going to have a major impact on the way we work, the way we live, even the way we learn. Today, AI has enabled learning in a way that we have never imagined before. It allows many countries where you have a huge landmass, it's very difficult to send teachers and good education programs to remote parts of your country. But with AI, you are able to then leverage on technology to be able to deliver these education programs remotely. So I think this is something that is going to change the way we learn, the way we live, the way we work, the way we play. But it's also important to, as you pointed out, Susan, that AI has its own risks. And how do we manage this risk is something that we have to pay attention to. And Singapore pays a lot of focus on developing guardrails, developing guidance in the development and deployment of AI technology.
Safely, right?
Safely,
Yeah.
and to also ethically. So I think it is important for us to develop these guidelines, but at the same time, it's not just Singapore. We need to work with like-minded countries, coming together to develop a set of guidelines and rules that all of us will observe.
Like
Because
Project Mindforge, right?
That's right, because otherwise, if we don't do so, I think we'll run into a lot of challenges and there will be a lot of risks and danger. I think eventually we will find that the AI will create more harm than good. So,
Yeah.
But we are able to do it carefully. I think it will bring a lot of promises. And I believe DBS itself is implementing a lot of AI applications on the ground, on the front line. Maybe you can share about what DBS has been doing in adopting and deploying AI.
Yeah, so we started quite a long time ago, almost 10 years ago. We call it classic AI, sort of rules-based, AI. And the key thing we found out was making sure your data is governed. You need to create a data lake so that you create metadata and you put all your data into a data lake. You set rules and protocols, and your processes must be uniform. Otherwise, everyone's going to use the same data in different ways, and you have duplications, you have different ways of doing things, and you can't control or govern that properly. So setting up a data lake, making sure your process protocols are all in place is so important. That's your bedrock. Then you can start putting in AI models, and we put in quite a lot. We worked on it. We went from a few hundred now to 1,500 different models. We come up with 1 billion different nudges, for example. But as you create that data lake, then you also have to the people you work with. You have to change the way you work. If you continue to work in silos, in vertical silos, it ain't gonna work. So what we did was we did the really hard thing, was to change the way we organize our people from vertical silos to horizontal organizations. So you're in charge of product, I'm in charge of process, someone's in charge of tech, someone's in charge of the customer experience, maybe legal and compliance, maybe HR, whatever. We work in a horizontal organization, and then we have a live data dashboard. So our meetings now, live dashboards, feedback loop. Did the customer like that? Account opening journey. Did the customer like it, not like it? What's the turnaround time? Blah, blah, blah. So very good insights from the customer, from your live data dashboards. And then you can layer in, whether it's generative AI, agentic AI, you layer in the new technology and then see whether it works or not. Because, DPM, we don't know what we don't know. We're all walking into this new future together. So the attitude has to be, you put in safeguards. Like you said, for us, the data safeguard is paramount, right? So we have this thing called PURE, P-U-R-E. The data must have purpose. It should be unsurprising. It should be relevant and explainable, right? So if you have that sort of philosophy underpinning how you use people's data, and only the right people can access the right data, you put in guardrails, and you have protocols on how you use the data, for example, then whatever new technology comes your way, as I said, generative AI, now we're building agents. Can you imagine, in the future, all of us humans working in organizations will have multiple agents to help, right? All the mundane work we don't want to do, read lots of documents, make sure they're okay. All that can be done by a bot, right? So AI agents to help us with our mundane work so that we can spend more time creating long-term meaningful relationships with our customers. That's the idea. But the change will take time. It takes a lot of attitude change. And for us, it's like DBS is like Singapore, right? Face it up front, unlearn, relearn, experiment, and share the feedback.
Very interesting, Su Shan. Maybe by next year, our FinTech here, we will send our avatar so both of us can have
I wonder what they will say.
back room. I think it's...
So your avatar will speak to my avatar.
Yeah, and the audience will also send all their avatars here.
Yeah,
Have to be
we'll have
there.
a virtual audience. But what will we be doing?
We'll all have coffee, play golf, do whatever we like. That's the dream.
That's the dream.
One day it may come true. But what is important is, I think your experience is very useful. I think we need to have a platform to allow companies like you to be able to share your experience and help other companies to embark on this journey. Because from Singapore's point of view, we want to look at AI at 3 different levels. First, we wanted to make sure that all our companies, big and small, DBS as well as your customers, everybody, to have a basic understanding of AI.
How it
this
works.
Basic AI literacy.
Yeah.
Just like internet, in the beginning, we want to teach all our people about internet. Today, we don't have to do so because everyone is born with the internet in mind. So I think in the beginning, the transition period is important for us to enable our baseline.
The whole nation.
The whole nation,
Baseline.
broad-based. Every worker, every company, understand AI, this basic literacy. Then the next level, we want to develop capability to integrate AI into our systems.
Right.
These are AI system integrators. They look at the business and see how I can make use of AI to level up my business, to be more competitive, to develop new services, do things I could not do before. These are integrators using AI tools to level up our businesses. Then the highest level are those that are AI developers, developing technology, developing new applications, developing new tools. Those are capability that we also want to develop. But for Singapore, we focus a lot more on actual use cases like what you do in DBS. So that's why I think it's useful for you to have an opportunity to share with the rest to how you think about AI, how do you apply AI in your business so that you are better than any other banks, you know.
No,
so
our
this
thinking is
is
similar
very important.
to yours for the country, sir. I mean, the horizontal use case, inch deep, mile wide, everyone can use. This is GPT, we call it DBS GPT. I think we can have a Singapore GPT, right? So, you know, everyone should learn at least some basic AI skills or use it for day-to-day. My colleagues in China use it for translation, for example. My colleagues at the branch use it for policies or, you know, what documents I need for account opening. Any question you can ask on policies, on language or whatever, it's there. Then the vertical use cases are more specialized, you know, more 专业. So the real deep use case, whether it's for credit, you know, analysis for certain industries or what to look out for you know, technological improvements, co-pilot for coding, how to create agents, etc. So there are a lot of specialized use cases as well. And I think the key, I've always said, right, DPM, the key is attitude. I think if we are all curious and have a good attitude, I think, you know, then even old folks like me can learn. I think everyone can learn.
I think that's another advantage of Singapore being small, because being very compact is a lot easier for us to push down this training and upgrading program on AI and AI literacy. In countries that are very big, you know, have a huge population, it's a lot harder for us to do so. Because another area that we need to focus on training is really on the users. Other than our workers, our company, our leaders, our managers, we also need to help our customers to understand AI so that they can also benefit from the AI applications that the banks and the businesses have put in place. So both training our workers as well as training our general population to understand and appreciate AI, and also to recognize the risks that AI may bring so that they are alert to scams and so on.
Especially on scams, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And AI is also very useful in detecting scams. I almost say it's useful for scams.
It's both useful for
in
scams
detecting
and useful
protecting
for detecting
against
scams.
scams. I think banks are very much aware
Yes.
of how scams will happen and how AI can be abused. And therefore, we also need to use AI in the right way to help protect against scams and criminals.
Yeah. So let's turn to jobs, DPM. I mean, a few years ago, everyone was looking to be a computer scientist. Then everyone's looking to become a data analyst. And how quickly job needs change, right? Job demand and supply changes, both for young graduates, you know, coming out to the workforce, but also our older, aging demographic that is the case for most countries in Asia, certainly Singapore, China, etc. How do we keep jobs relevant, I guess, or how do we keep our talent relevant, especially for the young and also for the not so young?
So just I try to make a slight difference. I think the job will always evolve.
Yeah.
I think the pace of this evolution of job is getting faster and faster. And the future of work is a topic that we constantly think about and discuss and to plan forward. It is important for us to understand that the job will change, and it's very hard to keep the same job relevant for a long period of time because they keep changing. The job that we've been doing 5 years ago is no longer relevant today.
Yeah.
The job has changed.
Incredible, right? 5 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think if you are still doing the same thing you were doing 5 years ago, I think you are at risk. So you have to be beginning to see doing different things from what you were doing 5 years ago. But even if jobs are evolving, as jobs are evolving, we have to keep the people relevant. So even if jobs are no longer relevant, if you are able to keep people, our workers, and our skills relevant, I think they will be able to adapt, evolve together with the evolution of jobs. So I think that's why training and upgrading is very important. I said earlier that Singapore has focused a lot on training and upgrading, and this has been our key strategy for the last 40, 50 years. But I think there's still a lot of room for us to push for this culture of constantly learning and constantly upgrading. If you look at our workforce, very often when the economy is doing very well, Our labor market is very tight.
Very tight.
The workers have no time to go for training. Even if the workers want to go for training, the employers would say, can you hang on a little while longer because I need to deliver this contract. I need to finish this job. After that, then you can go for your training. But before long, you get new contracts, you get new jobs, so you never have a chance to go for training. And when the recession came, we thought, oh, this is time for us to send people for training. Then the employer says, but now I'm struggling to survive. I don't have spare money to send you for training. So we never get this chance of going for training. But we have to change our mindset. We have to make time.
We have to make time.
And the government has put in a lot of investment in training and upgrading. We provide Skills Future, as I mentioned. We subsidize the training courses, but we also want to make sure that our training is relevant. It really makes a difference to jobs and to the capability of our workers to keep them relevant. So we are happy to work with companies to develop company training centers, for example, CTC, company training committees, so that you can develop training programs that will be relevant to the company. But we have to accept that training and upgrading is an investment. An investment will cost you time away from your jobs. A company has to release the workers so that they can go for training. And they have to believe that this investment in time to come will yield returns to the workers and to the companies. And this is even more critical today, given the fast-changing pace of technology and the nature of job. Even businesses are changing very quickly. And therefore, training has become even more important today than before.
Well, the good thing is most of us working in the finance industry, we all have something called compulsory training hours, right? So CPDR, so we need to spend that 10, 15 hours a year, and that's in a way a good time to take a step back to learn new things and to stay relevant. But all the more so for our young graduates coming out of school, being able to, to be agile and to pivot from what they studied perhaps into something new quite quickly is also really relevant. I know at DBS we came up with something, Marshall Goldsmith is an executive coach, very expensive, but we came up with an AI of him to help everyone have this AI executive coach in your pocket, so to speak, to help you to navigate your career in a changing world, right? I think the responsibility should sit with us, right? We should navigate our careers and we should navigate our relevance.
I think both employer and employees have a responsibility. The employers have a responsibility to allow your workers to go for training and upgrading, and workers themselves also have to take on the responsibility that this is really individual, personal responsibility to train and upgrade ourselves and don't depend on others to push us. And the government will do what we can to provide a platform, opportunities for you to go for training. As you pointed out, just now, I mentioned earlier that AI will also change the way we educate and train and upgrade. And now you're having an AI coach rather than a person. This will allow us to scale much better and faster.
And you can personalize your training to suit your own levels. So DPM, this is the Singapore FinTech Festival, 10 years. Cannot have you here without asking you about what everyone wants to ask you about, which is tokenized money, stable coins, blockchain. Dare I say crypto? But I guess we're all here, to learn more about what's happening in the world of tokenized money, interoperability, stable coins, digital assets, etc. Singapore, honestly, we were one of the first, MAS was one of the first to announce regulations around stable coins, for example. And a lot of different sandboxes, Project Orchid, Project Guardian, and now Bloom. Share with the audience your thoughts around what is the thinking of the government around tokenized assets, stable coins, etc.
Thanks. I think our position, our policy is quite clear. I think digitalized digital economy, digitalized assets, there's a role for it to play, and there's a place for it in the market, in the economy. But it's important for us to also focus on where these digitalized assets will bring about economic value and help us to transform our economy, our financial sector, transform the way we do business. And I think we can see value in some of this. But it's also important as we develop our capability and our market for digital tokens and assets to also be quite clear that there are risks involved. And therefore, it's important, that's why MAS also took the lead to develop rules and guidelines on how these digital assets have to be regulated so that we ensure that they are put to good use and to also protect individual, particularly the retail users of these digital tokens, to be quite aware of the risk that they are taking and to protect them against unexpected disasters. So I think this is the approach that we take. So we recognize that there is a role for digital currencies, digital assets in today's world, but we need to develop in a very careful way. That's why we developed this idea of sandboxes to allow some of these new ideas to be tested with a very light touch regulation, but we watch very carefully to make sure that it doesn't run wild. Once it is more mature, more developed, we are able to develop rules again around it, and this will help us to develop the industry. So we do want to take a leadership position in developing rules and guidelines in the digital assets. At the same time, we also want to develop connectivity among our partners on the digital assets so that they are interoperable, they are exchangeable. So we are working with our financial institutions, among our partners, to see how we can come together and work together and to develop this capability.
Yeah, I would say the Genius Act changed everything, right? That propelled a lot of other regulators also to sort of pick up the pace around their regulations and setting up their ordinances as well. But I think that the DLT, right, it's the digital ledger technology is probably here to stay. It's you have a transaction that never forgets, right? It's a proof of ownership, a proof of transaction, a proof of obligation, and a proof of identity. So I think the use cases are there, but to your point, it can be used for money laundering or speculative instruments, etc. And certainly we found at DBS that the dangers are there, but as you morph, you learn and you experiment. So for example, for custody, I didn't know that actually when you have your assets custodized in the blockchain, you need a hot wallet, cold wallet, and an air gap. And then because you're on the public blockchain, actually, they have this thing called dust, where scammers can come in and find your identity and try and scam you of your digital assets constantly, right? So you got to go up and down, and hide and surface, hide and surface. So there's a lot of complexity around just custody, right? Which is why we decided for a bank, you want to stay relevant in the digital ecosystem, you better be in the custody business. So we custodize digital assets, right? Then when you have custody, you need to exchange, right? On and off ramp. So we built the exchange. Then you also have to learn how to tokenize assets. I think the use case here is fractionalization. We did something with, Franklin Templeton to put their money market fund onto our exchange because we believe that people who hold tokenized assets deserve to also earn the yield. Right now, if you have, some of these stable coins, you don't earn any yield. But I think there is a use case for earning yield as well. So we're learning as well, right, across the whole ecosystem. There's so many different pathways from origination to trading to payments, cross-border payments, for example. Regulators, some are T+. The redemption period is T+2, T+0, T+4. How do you make sure they all kind of coordinated and there's no arbitrage and there's a real transfer of value? Right? If your stable coin is fungible to my stable coin, for example, how do you make sure that happens? So a lot of complexity that still needs to be ironed out, I think.
Yes, and we learn new things every day.
Yeah.
And new things happen every day. So we just have to keep on learning and upgrading ourselves and making sure.
And that's why I think we're all here in this Singapore FinTech Festival. This was the original hub in Asia of where these great ideas originate and sandboxes come out and experimentations come out, and that, hopefully we continue this spirit of innovation, experimentation in a safe and governance controlled manner.
And we also hope that this festival will also bring top brains together to think about how we can develop the financial sector further and technology, how we can leverage on technology to help propel the industry forward and to facilitate transactions and development of the industry. So I think this is the value of this FinTech festival.
Absolutely. We've all the best brains in finance and technology in the room. We're so grateful that you're all here. But most and foremost, we are most grateful for DPM. As I said, right, calm in the storm, wise words and such generous sharing. So please put your hands together for DPM Gan for his wonderful sharing this morning. Thank you for helping us open the
Thank you.
Singapore FinTech Festival.